The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Oh, okay. Hey,
Hugh, do we need to
Kenneth,
record?
yeah, I did. I think I hit record. Um, yeah, no, it's recording. Hey, first of all, I apologize for doing this during tax season, but yeah, as many of you know, I've gotten phone calls. Right now, a lot of dental practices, and I think to a lesser degree, veterinary practices, some ancillary medical practices, their hair's on fire. And they're panicking. They're making phone calls. Yeah, some of you may have received them. I had a discussion with Peter. Actually, I had a discussion with Mike over the weekend, and Peter's preparing for a large presentation on a variety of different topics for dental practices. And it was so relevant that I asked him to kindly share this with each of you so that collectively as a group, we're all prepared and in tune with how difficult a situation this is for dental practices. And secondarily, other types of medical practices, whether it's medical, whether it's veterinarian, what have you. So with that, I'll shut up and I'll turn it over to Peter.
So, good afternoon, everyone. I don't have much to share with you today. I got approached by Henry Schein Financial over the weekend about being a panelist on a call, and it seems like it's dead in the water right now. I'm not sure if they're moving forward with it or not. But over the last week, I've gotten basically bits and pieces of information from various practice consultants and other people. I've sat in on a couple of fortune management calls as well, just to kind of get a sense of what they're telling people. And kind of wanted to sort of share with you guys what I'm hearing, and then maybe hear from Mike and anyone else that has something else that they've heard, if they've heard anything different. We are closed here in the state of Florida until May 8th on dentistry, and not essential or I guess non-critical medical is closed as well. Most of my vets are now down to about a half day, if that, because nobody is going out. So they're kind of in that drawdown period as well. The big concerns that everyone has had on my side is, well, what do I do with employees? And if Hugh, if my technology is going in and out, I'll cut my video. What we're kind of seeing and coaching through, we're trying to not make decisions for people, is just where do they stand from a cash flow standpoint to keep people employed. The big variable is we don't know at this moment what the Senate's going to pass today, if they are going to pass anything today. One of the provisions on the sick pay and the leave pay bill is that you're required to pay out on this if somebody qualifies, whether or not you're in business or not in business. And when you have no revenue coming in for 6 weeks, that's a challenge. What a lot of my clients have decided to do is just to place their employees on a temporary furlough or unemployment status to allow them to claim benefits. The negatives there is if you have sick pay, you're kind of entitled to pay that out, which may be a problem depending on the practice. And then also health insurance, who's going to pay for the health insurance while the office is closed. The other things we've been kind of encouraging, and this feels like it's your grandmother's financial tips, but if you have a line of credit, pull on it, get the money out, get it in your bank account. Go ahead and defer paying loans if possible. Stop auto orders, and go ahead and put payments, essential bills on credit cards, and try to conserve cash. The big concern for everyone, including my firm, is just what's going to happen if our practices aren't paying us for 2 months. And so we're kind of going through the same boat. We're also recommending that they go ahead and apply for the SBA loan. The state of Florida has a bridge loan, but it's not nearly as much. With the idea that if you go through the SBA financing, you're probably going to get grandfathered into the grant program if that gets passed. And at least you get started on getting that money in. And again, I'm not sure if any of the practices I work with will actually qualify for the grant, but it doesn't hurt to try, especially if it's free money. What we've heard from Fortune in terms of what they're telling their clients is basically place all employees on temporary layoff status, file for SBA just as a precaution, and pretty much cut your cash going out. And then, try to make sure you've got an arrangement with a couple of employees who can come in and do emergency care for you and won't blow you off. I think it's going to be a period of time where I think we're all going to be put in a position of trying to be a leader because there's just not a lot of information out there. Finding a lot of people, I had about 5 text messages yesterday morning about when can I get my bailout money to pay my employees, and nothing's passed yet. It's in the conversation, so it's there. But there's certainly a lack of communication going around. I hope everyone's trying to reach out to their clients as much as possible. Jerry, thank you for sending over the summary on that bill. That was really helpful. But that's sort of what we're hearing, and what we're trying to communicate too is let's not panic. Let's have a plan, and let's just kind of hear and see what we can do on this. I'm going to kind of turn it over to Mike, see if Mike has anything else to add.
Okay, I'm back on. I think Pierre and I watched the same Fortune webinar the other day. I saw the recorded version. So that's kind of what they said too. So I sent out a video to, I think, hopefully every client, at least business client, Sunday morning and Sunday afternoon. Blind copy, of course. And it was like, and I kept it short. It's like 15 minutes long because you can't put it all in there. And there's a lot to talk about, and there's a lot of unknowns because it's like 3 days old, and not everything's passed. And basically, I kind of encourage everyone to basically say, apply for an SBA loan. I mean, you can draw a line of credit, yes, but those are going to be smaller. I think they're going to be really lenient on handing out money. As long as you get a credit score, I think it's 600 or more, you should be in good shape. I don't know how much they're going to give out. I guess it's going to be, I think it's going to be based upon revenue numbers, because there's the one form, I forget what form number it is, shows your sales by month for the last 3 years. They got to agree to the tax returns, and they want form 8821, the authorization to verify that's what you got. And so unfortunately for some of us, that still means we got to get tax returns done for those that are going to apply, because they're going to see their 19 return, very potentially anyway. So I'm kind of saying the same thing. Grab the cash, keep the cash, talk to your landlord now. Don't ask for freebies, ask for deferments. Suppliers will work with you. They're in the same boat we are. We're all in the same boat. And I don't think they're gonna, they should not find much headway on that. And when I talked to you Saturday morning, he reined me in a little bit, okay, because I said I was thinking about just giving all across the board our reduction in fee for the month of April. But on the other hand, there's medical doctors, they're busy. They don't have a cash flow problem right now. And subsequent to that, on Sunday and yesterday, I did have 2 or 3 clients say, don't charge me for April, or can I kind of temporarily terminate services? I don't want to stop, but I don't have the money. So I know that's going to hit home over here as well, like most of us.
Luke asked this question to me, I think 2 days ago by text. Could the two of you elaborate on the requests you've gotten and how you've approached it so far?
Could you say the last part of the question again? I didn't catch all of it.
Luke sent me a text the other day. He's getting hit up repeatedly by business clients asking for a significant reduction or to skip a payment. How have you handled that so far?
So I'm still contemplating on some of it. And to a great degree, it's going to be case by case. The one who called us up and said, can you skip April? I'll get back with him on a video and say, we'll just defer it till September. I don't think he's going to have a problem with that. I'd be shocked if he does. He's like a boarding house for animals, cats and dogs. He's not busy now because everyone's home, but he'll be booked again later on. Others, like some of the restaurants, I may just go, I'm just going to charge you $20, $50 for the month. I'll just waive the rest of it. Don't worry about it. Others, I may just, try to defer, preferably defer. Some cases, just reduce it to half, because there's some things that we're going to do more, although they don't want to pay for it. I've got 3 people working, focusing on SBA related matters starting yesterday, not counting the payroll side. And we're trying to send out video on the payroll. And my person here, I go, it's going to be a 15-minute video explaining it, but do one video so we don't have to explain it every time. And maybe someone will understand it without having us handle 20 of these calls. The 3 people they're now working remotely. They opted to work. They had a meeting and decided, they're probably listening in. They decided on Friday to work remotely. I've given them the leeway to tell the clients the fees for the SBA assistance is up to $2,000. Payment deferred to September. If we work a lot on it, it'll be closer to 2. If it's less, it may be 500. But I don't want to do it for free, because I could see potentially 10, 20, 30 of these coming in, and that'll consume 2-3 weeks of time of 2 or 3 people. Others are going to be charging. So I really can't, waive that. I'll be flexible for sure. So to kind of answer your question, it's going to be case by case, and I'll take up Hugh's suggestion. I'll just do video for each one of them. I won't make it a blanket one.
One of the ideas that came up with from an outsourced marketing program client that's outside of this vertical, outside of the dental, outside of the veterinarian, he brought up the idea of adding a page to his website. It talks about loan assistance under the COVID-19 situation. So we wrote up today and yesterday content for a page that we would add to the niches where you're interested in attracting more clients. It has a supporting video, and it would have a form that somebody would fill out, so what type of business they are, what their revenues are, and how to contact them if they come to your website. So Peter saw it and Mike have seen it today, and the next step is to add it to their website. And for those interested of attracting inquiries from the outside, we would be prepared to add it to your websites, your niche websites. We're not going to add it to your generalist website because I don't want you to get swamped and to attract inquiries from businesses that you don't want.
Yeah. A couple thoughts on the fee structure too before I jump on it. We haven't had a lot of inquiries of people trying to slow down or cancel, but I've also I think I've sent out 5 emails now with updates over the last 10 days. So I'm trying to stay up in front and at least provide some information. And really, it's just a scale down being on the phone all day. The way I would kind of approach a fee discussion is, all right, if we're going to put me on pause, am I going to be around to help you when you need this loan application completed? I think I'm generating some degree of value and transparency for you now. You're going to need me more probably over the next 2 months, and you think you're going to need me. Is this really the best call? And I think you just take it on a case-by-case basis. I anticipate a lot of those calls are going to be, I'm absolutely scared and I don't know what to do, so I'm just going through my budget and slashing. The other thing is the SBA loan application may vary state by state. What Mike is mentioning on that application is not what I saw here in the state of Florida. And so it may be a little different depending on where you're at and what everyone needs. But I think the idea is, and the other idea that I had, it's not original to me, somebody approached me about it, was do we do some sort of subscription webinar where we get people to pay for us to kind of just go through a Q&A and give information out. I just don't feel like I've got the bandwidth right now to do that. And I don't want to organize it. And I feel like I've got a lot of other problems to navigate right now besides trying to get that organized. But that's one idea too. And I don't know if anyone else in the group has any thoughts on that, but would be doing something where there's a fee paid and we do something using Zoom or GoToMeeting, and I'll talk about what we can do for cash flow. I think it's kind of a little too late to do that. I have a little bit of hesitation with the existing clients to charge for something like that, but it may be something, if we get enough inquiries coming in, that we may want to consider putting that together for new clients as a way to kind of get some quick money in without a lot of effort.
I have a couple of questions that
It's a tough one.
put on the
It's a
board.
tough one to do. Yeah.
First question is from Jerry. He says he's spoken to several attorneys who are recommending that employees be laid off prior to the HR 6201 goes into effect on April 2nd, so that you're not locked into having to pay employees for leave and seeking reimbursement down the road and trying to get request hardship from the Department of Labor. Comments?
So that's the advice Fortune gave. That's kind of the advice that I'm kind of relaying to my clients too, is if there's a concern on it. I have some clients that have 2 months worth of sick pay. And so, I don't know if they can necessarily afford to pay everybody off on sick pay if they go on furlough. The other thing that I don't know yet, and maybe Jerry, if you know anything more on it, let me know. I have yet to see what qualifies for hardship. I know that there is the leave pay requirement isn't necessarily required for under 50 employees, but I think you do have to meet some sort of viability of your business hardship requirement, which isn't defined. I had read that by Wednesday, the hardship rules were going to be published, but I don't know if they will. And that's part of the problem with the legislation. They passed it and then they left it to the Department of Labor to define everything, which impacts most of the people involved. So Mike, do you know anything more about that?
Right. Yeah, the biggest thing we've seen is if you're less than 50 employees, you seem to be exempt from a lot of these rules. And some of that Family Medical Leave Act, it appears to be pretty specific at this point. It's got to be, you got to be sick, quarantine, family member, caring for a family member. So it isn't just across the board, we're going to pay you 10 weeks. But almost all our clients are less than 50 employees. So looking at, we think they're all exempt, but basically, they're starting to let go of people already. And we tell them all the same thing: pay off all your paid time off, if you're sick, your PTO. That's the law anyway. If you were terminating them, that's what you'd have to do. Most, I'm looking at the rules not too long ago. Most of them are going to be hard to really meet that criteria. I mean, just in general, it sounds great, but I don't think most of our clients don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, we don't even know if a dentist is a healthcare provider at this point. So I think it's up in the air. I think the safe, prudent approach would be to put everybody on temporary furlough. But again, this may all change if the Senate passes something that allows for reimbursement or payment. So we'll just have to wait and see.
One of the questions that Luke posted is asking for more detail about this loan package page that we're going to be adding to select websites. What we did is we picked some of the keywords that we thought people would be typing. We're trying to constrain it to niches that you want to attract clients. So I'll use Peter's practice as an example. We would probably add this page talking about the options to get loans in the state of Florida and on a federal basis on 3 of Peter's websites: one for dental, one for veterinary, and one for medical practices. There are state-specific loan programs and there are federal government programs. There are some city loan programs as well in some extreme cases. So what we're trying to do is aggregate it. There's a video that talks about it. And the real idea, and it communicates it in the copy, that the person has to be a client of your firm to qualify and for you to service them. And that's the discussion I had Saturday morning with Mike. You don't want to get into doing project work with somebody who is not a client of yours. You are going to have to get their financials. You are going to have to provide it. There is going to be work. It's not something that's going to make you much money. It's really an opportunity either to satisfy an existing client or a prospective client in an industry vertical that you really want to attract. Comments?
That's about right. Because even along the same lines, we've gotten a number of inquiries. I don't know, 3, 4, 5 on payroll and what they should do. Well, we don't do their payroll. And it's like, how do we approach them? Say, well, you want help? Well, why don't you call Intuit up and Gusto and get an answer? So me trying not to be as undiplomatic as I always am, someone else is rewording what I said and saying, we'd love to help you out, but we need a lot more details on your payroll, and we don't do your payroll, and we're handling other payroll clients currently. We strongly suggest that you contact your current payroll provider. If they can't help, let us know ASAP, and we'll get you on the list. But keep in mind, the response is not going to be very timely. Really, I'm trying to tell them is we're not going to be able to get to it. Because if we tell them we're going to charge them for it, they're going to get upset.
I mean, I think you've got to be direct with the prospect and be like, it's if we're here, but we're not a reference librarian. We're not here for free. And our advice is valuable and timely. And if you want to be on board, we're happy to work with you. But this is a time to, you should probably be having more of a conversation with your current CPA why they're not involved.
That's
Josh,
right.
Josh has a question with regard to extended benefits. He says, if a business closes down after April 1st, I don't think laying them off will be a problem. They still have to qualify under HR 6201. And if the business is closed down, it's closed down. Yeah, I'm just assuming that these businesses will bounce back, not go out of business permanently.
I think that's
so if you're closed, you're closed.
Right. And I think that's a fair question. They still have to qualify. They got to be caring for someone or be sick themselves from COVID-19 or qualify underneath some rule for Department of Health and Human Resources or Services, which we don't know what that means, other than there's a line in there about it.
Yeah, the concern is that I think you have to be real careful on how you proceed here. We can't discriminate against other, certain classes of employees. So you can't leave one person on and take another off. But there's so much that we just don't know about right now, and that's the problem. Is how do you plan? And I think the legislation seems like it was drafted with the idea that everybody's business would remain open. It may just not remain open for 40 hours a week open. But what we're finding in various states is that offices are closed, and if they're closed and they're on the hook for $9,500 per employee, that's a lot of money to have aside. And yes, there's been provisions of getting that reimbursed, but I don't really trust the federal government to get you your money back very quickly.
Other questions that you want to post into the question section? I mean, the one specific comment I had with Mike, one of Mike's niches that we've gradually de-emphasized over time is restaurants. And I hedged with him about not putting this loan package towards that particular vertical because some of them I don't think are ever going to come back. And I mentioned that, and that's part of the reason that I'm recommending that we not put it on your generalist website, because I don't want you to get inquiries from people, get say $2,000 for a loan package, and they never return as an ongoing business.
Correct, right. There's a catch to that, and then chances are if they're calling us up, the first question is, well, why are you calling us up? Who's doing your current work and you can't call them? And then chances are, yeah, for a lot of them, there's probably a lot of work because they probably don't have financials. They don't have close to having a tax return for the prior year. And then they don't have any money coming in. And then we say, geez, we got to do all this catch up and you want it in a week. That's not going to happen. And we're going to charge you for it. We know they're going to say, well, I can't afford it. Can I do it later? And the answer, of course, is no, we can't do it later because we don't know who you are without telling them that. Versus at least some of them we're working with, that's a little bit different. And then, yeah, potentially the drawback is, yeah, we could get flooded with lots of inquiries and we can't really weed through them.
One of the questions Lee has is the biggest issue is taking care of children while the school's being closed, which they are. There will be, that will be the qualifier, the major qualifier. I believe there may be repercussions from firing employees as the intent is to protect the employee. Did Fortune touch on that at all?
Yeah, I think Lee's right that you have to tread really, really carefully. I think their opinion is that if your office is closed, that's a genuine business reason for putting everyone on furlough.
Yep, that's what they said.
Jerry had a question. If you charge $2,000 for doing the loan package and completing the SBA loan application, and then they do not qualify, then you're going to end up refunding the money? Or is that just a fee as part of going through the process, not knowing and not having control over the outcome?
So the ones that we're proposing that to is the existing clients. Is it possible some won't qualify? Yes. And then we bite the bullet. Because if I turn around in September and bill them for it, you know, they're not going to want to pay for it anyway. And chances are, if they don't qualify, they're not going to stay open it much longer. If they can't qualify, I think they need at least a credit score of 600, is what I recall. Not that I'm sure, but that's what I recall hearing yesterday. I guess we would know pretty fast if they don't have a 600. But on the other hand is if we keep them open, as I explained to the one gentleman I was getting off the phone on, it's a small price. What do you care about $2,000 6 months from now? It's more important to have cash in the bank and be able to pay it back later. And we've even in our when we send out tax payment, normally we just pay the taxes on payroll taxes. We're giving them the option. Now we know the IRS is not granted deferrals on payroll taxes anywhere, but I've said I put it down, quote unquote, my opinion. Keep the money. The penalties and interest, if they're not waived, is a small price to pay to keep that extra $4,000, $8,000, whatever it is in the bank, so you can stay open. It becomes pretty cheap money at the end of the day. But it's their call. I'm giving them something to think about, and they can choose if they want to take that route or not, knowing full well that we may not be able to get them waived, but I think there'll be a lot of requests going in at some later date for this.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, I think the decision on what people are going to do is going to be based on what the Senate passes or doesn't pass. But the concern, like, I guess back to the point of what do you do if you charge somebody and it doesn't go through? I think you have to have a pretty blunt conversation that putting all this paperwork together is not easy, and it takes time and it takes energy. And, we can't really do this on a contingent basis because we don't know what qualifies or doesn't qualify on a contingent basis. So I would probably encourage you, if you're not comfortable with a client or it's a new client, probably get paid in full in advance before you do the work. But we'll see as these things come through. I'm just surprised because what Mike's describing as the loan application process is completely different than what I saw this morning. So we'll see if there's any standardization to this.
Yeah, because one we've looked at so far has been the SBA disaster loan program. You mentioned Florida had one specifically. I'm not sure Texas has one specifically. I haven't seen one. The SBA one is all online. Fill in the blanks. Got 3 different forms, mostly accounting numbers. Yep. Financial sales numbers only. Tax returns, 8821. It's not that necessarily that takes all that long to fill out, other than the sales by month. It's all the discussion having with the client, what to do, don't panic. There's been other things in the past in this country. We've made it through. We just don't know when we'll get through. We will get through, but we don't know when. But yeah, definitely on clients that we've never worked with, yeah, we got to get paid. Period. I mean, and if the price is too high for them, that's okay. Go somewhere else. Most of them, I think, take a percentage. Most SBA packagers do a percentage of the loan, and I suspect that they've probably gone up in their percentage in the last couple of days. Is my gut feeling. But yeah, in some case, something, it is case by case basis for sure.
Next question and comment was from John Siebert in Ohio. Simply laying off the staff doesn't trigger HR 6201. The employee will need to be would need to be off either because they have the coronavirus and symptoms, have been recommended to quarantine by a doctor, or need care for a sick family member or a child under 18. Did they talk about that at the Fortune webinar?
So the issue on that, and I'll jump in first, is if the governor of Ohio mandates a stay-at-home provision, does that trigger the first option that the person has coronavirus or is under a government quarantine or mandate? And so we don't know. That's been one of the big talking points on this bill, is that, what if it's a statewide closure, if it's a national closure, if it's a city closure, and does that then trigger that 2-week period to start this again? I don't know. And so unfortunately, and I understand the intent behind it, and I respect the intent behind it, but it's a lot of open-ended questions that are forcing people to make really, really quick decisions on what to do with their employees to try to protect their businesses, which I don't think was the underlying intent behind the bill, but this is where we're at.
Yeah.
Was there any? Sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
No. What John read was exactly what's in the off the websites, and so those are the qualifications at this point, at least at the federal level. At least here in Texas, we've had no county or state closures, although we know that's happened in other states. Most of our clients are in Texas for the most part. So we haven't had to worry about too many other states yet.
Was there any discussion about whether or not business interruption insurance would help cover this in the situation where a governor shuts down the whole state?
Okay, so from what I've seen,
go ahead, Mike. I'll answer you.
You'll probably say the same thing. Usually, in most business interruption insurance policies, pandemics are specifically excluded.
Yeah, the advice I was given is that essentially business interruption insurance usually involves some degree of property damage one way or the other, and whether a pandemic would cover it is not. I wouldn't go in as your plan A is to is to file for business interruption insurance. I don't think you're going to be successful.
Yeah, because what Fortune said was, well, if you're interrupted because you can't get dental supplies, that could qualify as business interruption. But if you say the word pandemic, the answer is no. They'll kick it out.
Luke's asking, can he see a copy of the webpage about the small business loan packages and stuff like that? Literally, we just got done writing the content. Peter saw it probably about an hour ago. Mike probably saw it about an hour and a half ago.
Right.
As soon as one of those goes live, I'll be glad to send it to all of you. I do, and again, I want to constrain it to the niches where you want to attract more clients, because I don't want you getting bogged down by businesses that may never open their doors again in other industries that are much more cyclical or less sophisticated in terms of their compliance. Other comments or insights that any of you have out there or heard from other peers or professionals? Okay, so far I'm not seeing anything. I appreciate all of you in this time to take time out of your busy day to join, to contribute, and put these issues on the table. I will make a considered effort to move as quickly as we can in terms of the loan assistance to generate some inquiries, both to service existing clients and prospective clients. But again, please I'm going to say discriminate, but please be selective which people you take on to help from a loan package perspective that's a prospect. It looks like I got a couple more questions. Hang on.
Sure.
No, I think hang on. I got one more from, it looks like from Lee. Come on. Oh, it's just a comment. So I'm not seeing any more questions. That's it. I'll wrap it up. I know you guys are busy. I appreciate you taking time here today. And if there's something in here, I will have it put into the library of recorded webinars as well. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, cool.
Bye for now.